Welcome back to the PT Graduate Podcast. My guest today is Jean Scott. Welcome, Jean.
Welcome, kia ora, Rich. Lovely
Thanks.
to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much for being here, and thanks again for organising some time for me. I really appreciate it. It's great to be able to catch up with just such an amazing cross section of people in this industry, and everyone's got something different and wise to say. And I think when you put all of that together, there's some really good stuff that comes out of these. So that's why I love doing it. I can't imagine there are too many people in the industry that don't know the name Jean Scott, but for anybody listening, there are a few listeners outside of New Zealand. There's a few Australians and a few Americans, Canadians that do listen. So tell us a little bit about what you do. And I mean, I know you've been in the industry a while, you've got some real experience under your belt. Be keen to know the beginnings as well. So what got you interested and wanting to pursue working in this industry?
Great question, young Rich. Well, I have to say that I have been in the industry in excess of 40 years.
All right.
I was quite young when I first started out as an aerobics instructor.
Yeah.
And my sister dragged me along to Les Mills, and we did a jazzergetics class.
Yeah.
Where she gave me a leotard to wear. That was the days of bare feet.
Yeah.
And I did a couple of classes at Les Mills in Christchurch or Tahi, and I decided that actually I could be anywhere as good as them. So I went off and I got myself trained as an aerobics instructor. I was full-time working for a small chain then. I was in the grocery industry. I was working as a meat packer for Countdown. And that was my full-time employment. And on the side, I got myself qualified as an aerobics instructor, and then later down the track as a gym person. But my years at Countdown were amazing. I decided that it wasn't perhaps a job that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. But I was with the company while they were relatively young. And so while they were a young company, they were building their brand. And as part of my role working within that company is I got to help them build their brand and to train people in the industry and that industry. So I moved around New Zealand a little bit, training people in the art of meat packing.
Okay.
And during that time, I learned a lot of the skills that I use today in the industry that we all work within, the health and wellness industry. So I learned about communication. I learned about compromise, collaboration, and it just really enabled me, or it has enabled me over the last 40 years to live the life that I want to lead purposely, consciously, and consistently. And that's the thing that I say to my clients all the time. Anyway, moving forward from there, in my role as an aerobics instructor, I worked for a small chain in Christchurch called World Gym at that time. And I worked there as an aerobics instructor, and I really did find my passion. I just loved what I did. I loved the people that I was working with. And I was one of those real Yahoo, cheerleader-y type group fitness instructor. And anyway, I was passionate about where I was working and what I was doing. And I could see that the gym was slowly going downhill quite steadily. Anyway, the franchise owners came in and took over the gym. And of course, I'm not backward at coming forward. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm quite outspoken. And when I believe in something, I believe in it, and I don't mind speaking my mind. And so I did to the franchise owners and told them, a little bit about what they could do to lift the business back up again. Within the next couple of days, they offered me the role as the manager of that business. And so I left my role as a meat packer at Countdown and moved into a management role at World Gym in Christchurch. And I was there for 10 years, over 10 years. And during that time, I was a jack of all trades. I was the cleaner, I was the creche worker, I was the program writer, I was the salesman, I was the administrational person, but I was also a manager of other people. And we created, myself and my husband, Derek or Scotty, depending on the day that you're talking to me. We created a community within that community, and after my 10 years of working there, we had a thriving business. It was probably sitting at that time around number 3 within the Christchurch industry. So there was Les Mills, Total Fitness, and then there would have been World Gym at that stage. During my time at World Gym, I fell in love with bodybuilding, which was a sport that I pursued for quite some time. And I was relatively successful as a novice, but I wasn't a winner. I got second, but I never quite got a first. And that was at nationals as well. But I decided, well, I realized, sort of person that I am, that I was never ever going to be a champion. And so I decided that coaching may have been a better thing for me to do. So I started coaching other people, and within my community at World Gym, I started coaching our members, our whānau in our community. Yeah. I was very successful as a coach. And I coached New Zealand champions, South Island champions. And then I moved into the role within the New Zealand Bodybuilding Federation. So as a member of the organisation, a committee member of the organisation. And so for quite a few years, I was the vice president of the New Zealand Bodybuilding Federation. Within my role there, I then took a women's team to the Women's World and a men's team to the Commonwealth Men's and Men's Worlds. And I also, during that time, took up judging. So I was a judge for the New Zealand Federation of Bodybuilders. Right. I did my test judge at the Men's Commonwealth event. I passed as a Commonwealth judge as well, which is was pretty exciting stuff. I also started organising events at that stage. So I organised a number of events in Christchurch and Dunedin, and I organised a couple of national events in Christchurch that were very successful. So pretty exciting times. And so I was involved with the organisation until the time that my daughter turned 5, and I decided that actually my daughter needs me more than my other children that were, bodybuilding. And during that time, I then transitioned from managing World Gym to personal training at Les Mills. Right. So I decided I needed a little bit more excitement in my life, and I needed to be pushed and challenged a little bit more. So I rang Maureen Baker at Les Mills and asked for a position as a gym instructor. And she said, no.
Really?
Yeah, she said, oh, we're not going to employ you as a gym instructor. We want you to come on as a personal trainer. I'm like, So this is when personal training was very, very young. So I'd started personal training when I was at World Gym, and I just saw a few clients. And so stepping in and going into my own business was like a huge thing then. And I've been with Les Mills, I think, 26 years. So I'm still currently with Les Mills as a group fitness instructor. I teach RPM. So during my time at Les Mills, I have been a New Zealand presenter, a New Zealand trainer in both body pump and RPM. And I was head program coach in Christchurch, Les Mills, for both body pump and RPM, and currently still teaching RPM. So I've been with Les Mills 100 releases, and we do 4 releases a year. Right. So we just celebrated that last month. So that was pretty exciting.
I found that on your Facebook page.
Yeah. It was a whole lot of promotion around 100. So that was cool. So I'm currently personal training from my own studio at home, which I've been doing for probably the last 5 years. Within my studio, I train one-on-one, train 2-on-1. I have some husband-wife combinations. I train a group of girls at 6 a.m. in the morning, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that can be anywhere from a good day from 14 through to maybe 4, depending on what they've all got on, sickness, away with work, holidays.
Yeah.
Mostly there's between 10 to 12 girls averaging at that time at 6 a.m. in the morning.
Okay.
And I have a couple of girls that Zoom in as well. So,
all right, good.
Yeah, and quite often if they go away, the thing is you can go away, you can be on holiday, you can be working, but you can still Zoom into your session.
True.
Yeah, so I give them equipment from time to time when they need it. I have a little bag of travel stuff that people can take if they want. A lot of them have their own equipment. I train another group of girls, ladies hours at 9 o'clock in the morning on Mondays and Thursdays. And then I have a group that I call my warriors, which is a mixture of men and ladies. And that's Mondays and Wednesdays at 6 a.m., 6 p.m., sorry, and a Saturday morning at 9 a.m. And I have a mix of husbands and wives. I think in my session last night, there were 8. I think in my session on Monday night, there were 12, and it can vary from day to day, week to week, depending on what's happening. And yeah, so, and I do a range of stuff, and I also teach yoga within my studio. So I have a practice of yoga, 2 sessions a week, and my Thursday night session, I have some that Zoom in and do yoga with me. I actually practice with them.
Right.
Some in the studio, not in the studio. And then with my clients, I do a little bit of walking, hiking, a little bit of biking. Yes, I go out biking on a Tuesday night. On a Tuesday night. I have a te reo class now on a Tuesday evening for 2.5 hours. And on a Thursday night, we go mountain biking.
Right.
So that's just some of the stuff that I do. So it keeps me pretty busy. But then I'm an assessor in SAM for Te Mahi Airport, which is in-work training. So for instance, you wanted to start up in the industry and you were untrained, but you could go and work within a gym environment. They would coach and mentor you. I'd be your assessor. And so I would be in touch with your workplace, with you, and between the 3 parties, we would get you qualified within the industry. And so I also, I'm a SAM, so I'm a senior assessor mentor. So I coach, train likes of yourself that want to be assessors within Te Mahi Airport. So it's really cool. It enables me to continue learning myself because I learn from my learners. And it also means that as a mentor, I have to continue my own training always. You know, so it's pretty awesome. It's fair to say, Rich, I love what I do.
Yeah, I can see that, and I can hear that very loud and clear. Absolutely, absolutely. And being in that SAM position allows that continuity in the industry. You can see the talent coming through, and you can, you know, that flow is your way, I guess, of passing on your knowledge, your experience, and being able to help the next generation come through, which is fantastic. Yeah,
most definitely. You know, I've always had this philosophy that, you know, whatever I do, whatever I say, whatever I have created, it's not mine. It's for anybody to use, to change, to, you know, make better. It's not unusual for me to be sending my learners some stuff that I've done myself that I think will be useful to them. And then just change the letterhead, put your own stuff there. Feel free to use it.
Sure. Yeah. Very generous.
I've got a learner that I work with at the moment in Twizel. She's an awesome girl. And of course, we can't do face-to-face because she's in Twizel and I'm in Christchurch. So our last couple of things that we've done is she has been doing a program delivery, which she has to video, and then I assess the video and give her feedback. So what we do is we organise a time that my Zoom is available, her Zoom is available. We set up the Zoom, set her up, I turn it on record, and then I go off and do what it is that I have to do. So if I'm with clients, I just excuse myself from my clients, just got to run and turn the Zoom on. She sets herself up. I make sure that she can be seen, that I can hear her, and then go, thank you to her client. For, you know, sharing this experience with my learner, and I wish them both the best, and I leave them to it, and I'd say when you finish, just turn your Zoom off And when I've finished, I'll come and turn mine off, and then I sit down and assess her delivery when I have time. It saves her having to download the video, you know, because that in itself can be a little bit stressful. So it's like, yes, it works great.
Clever use of time, Jean. You know, that's two birds with one stone.
Yeah, and you know, if I've got the time and I can do the assessment when it works for her, then I will sit and do the assessment while she's doing it.
Right.
But you know, sometimes it's hard to get the right time for 3 people.
Sure. Yeah. No, good solution there. Nice.
Not bad for an old dinosaur that doesn't even know how to get hold of an iPod. And I what is it? Podcast.
Yeah. Embracing the technology. That's brilliant. That's really interesting. I'd had 25 years, and the 25 years was from the Les Mills anniversary, of course, but I hadn't realized that you'd been in the industry so much longer. So a wealth of knowledge, I'm sure. And that sort of leads me on nicely to the industry awards, which you've been the organizer and head judge of for a number of years now. And whenever I come into contact with people, if they haven't been through the process, I talk to them about it and explain how valuable it is. But if they've been through it and they've won an award, because those are the people I like to interview, because they've always got some wisdom to share. They understand it, so I don't have to sell it to them. But tell me a little bit about what attracted you. I think I might know the answer, but what attracted you to that role? Because it's a big job. There's a number of categories, and there's 1,000 moving parts with the people that are entrants, the people who are judging the entrants. I don't know how you do it, so talk us through it.
I mean, it's such a valuable process for the individuals, the clubs, the organizations that are participating in it, because it really enables them to delve into their own business and actually be really honest about what's working really well. And actually it gives them an opportunity to say, actually, this isn't working so well, I need to change it. And it also enables them to perhaps look at others in the industry and go, what makes them so successful? What is it they do? What do they do that I can perhaps incorporate or try and bring into my business? And so, you know, it really is enabling organizations and individuals to look at their business. And it's, you know, I've got a daughter that's 21, and she did this workshop with a producer from America, and he said to her, she had to sing a song. He workshopped with her. She had to re-sing the song, and he said, you're a jigsaw, you're a star, you've got it all there, you've just got to get it all together. And the only reason that he was working with her in that particular instance was that her teacher, everybody was sitting on their hands because he wanted someone to workshop. Everybody sat on their hands. And her teacher went, gee, get up here.
Right.
And he said to her, do you realize you are a star? And the thing with New Zealanders and Australians is tall poppy syndrome. They're not going to put their hands up. So, you know, it's like, put your hands up and let people know you're a star. Because, Rich, we want to celebrate the stars in this industry. You know? But to be celebrated, you've got to be prepared to share your information and your greatness with others. You know? And so in the industry awards, there are lots of moving parts, and there are lots of people that are bringing it all together. It's not just me. So we've got people in different areas. So we've got Sutumi that looks after the group fitness. We've got the names are eluding me at the moment just because I'm thinking about other stuff. But you know, there are other people. But in the individual categories, I think I had something like 18 industry experts that were judging in different categories.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and we've been doing this for the last few years on Zoom. And it's been an awesome process. It's a process that we have evolved and changed and made better and got better each time. And you know, I'm very much, it's when I'm doing it, I'm the industry expert, Jean Scott. I'm the facilitator of the New Zealand Exercise Indutry Awards, and when I'm talking on Zoom to the individuals, and as you will be able to say, yes, this is correct, that I ask the same question in the same words, and everything is the same, the look is the same, the way I say it is the same, to ensure that there is some real standardization within what it is that we're doing, so that not one person gets any more than anybody else. Yep, sure, I may have to re-ask a question if someone doesn't quite understand, and that's okay. But you know, there's a real standardization to it. The other great thing about the industry awards, Rich, is we had 18 industry experts, and those industry experts get to give awesome feedback to the finalists. Each and every one of those finalists gets fabulous feedback from our industry experts, and it's given in a way that the individuals can understand, and they can go away and they can build on that. You know, so it's a little bit like CRC, commend, recommend, commend. You do this really well. Have you tried doing it like this? And I love the way you did this. You look professional, you sound professional, you know your stuff. You know, it's that sort of thing. And so there's real wins in it for everybody, real wins. And then for the people that aren't finalists the first year, and sometimes it works that you're not, reflect, read the feedback that you've been given from the industry experts, build on the feedback, and then go do it again the next year. You know, it's not very often that a first timer comes through and takes the crown. I mean, let's face it, you've got to be pretty amazing.
Oh yeah.
And we've got amazing trainers out there as well. And it's just because perhaps you don't win it the first, second, third, or even fourth time of trying, it doesn't mean that you're not one of the best personal trainers within New Zealand, within the world. You know, it just means that you've just got to get your jigsaw together, right? And you've got to get your jigsaw together, and it's the presentation, it's the content, it's the professionalism. You know, it's all those things. It's not just whether or not you can count to 10. And you know, all good personal trainers, you know, do the percent rule, don't they? There's always one or two extra reps in there. It's called a credit.
Right. A couple more.
Yeah, it's called a credit.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and when you get to that level, it really is it's neck and neck. Everybody's at that same level, and really the difference between, you know, the winner and the second and third place is quite fine. And so that's why sometimes that first year can be a learning process. And that's that little bit of fine-tuning that you would never have known about if you hadn't come second or third and done anything about, right? So, you know, you're just polishing the surface to get that extra little bit that makes the difference between that second and third. And that's so powerful for an individual in their business. Yeah.
And you know, on that note, Rich, I would, you know, over the years of, you know, observing the different finalists and individuals, you know, it's sometimes it's the small things that actually make the difference. It's like, you know, we all use Zoom. I can see that you've got a pretty much a plain wall. There's a picture on the side there, but I can't quite see what it is. I've got behind me that little white square that you can see is actually a light that I use for when I'm I use a circuit machine. I make print on mugs and t-shirts and stuff. And you know, with the eyesight, I need a brighter light, so I have that tucked in there so that I can use that light. So we don't want to see you washing. We don't want to see
your mattress turned up,
your littles on the laundry dryer, and you know, all the children running around in the background.
Yeah.
you know, or the hearing. And, you know, when you're talking, you need to articulate your words. You need to speak clearly so that we can hear what you're saying. And you need to, you know, take a moment, think about the question that's been asked and answer that question. You know, it's small stuff, but it actually makes a big difference. Now, I know there are absolutely awesome trainers that are out there. I see them, I work with them, I do training with them. I know they are rock star trainers. But sometimes they just don't come across as rock star trainers.
Yep.
And, you know, the reality is we're a face-to-face business. You know, humans creating wanting human connection.
Yeah.
We need to be able to connect with the individuals in front of us. And, you know, if you're having a bad day or you're having a technology bad day, it's like, well, you are, but nobody wants to know about it. You know?
True. Yeah.
And it's, so it's all in, you can have all the knowledge up here and you can have all the amazing stuff going on in your studio, but if you can't sell it. Yeah.
Absolutely. You're right. You've got to be consistent. You've got to be able to deliver, and you've got to bring the energy and leave all the other stuff at the door, whatever that may be.
Yeah, it's a little bit like walking into a personal training session. You know, personal training session is exactly the same, or a group fitness class. You know, you show up with your A tag on and you do it.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes that isn't always the case.
No,
they don't always. Yeah, like you say. So you know, it's always a learning opportunity for those people.
Yeah.
You enjoy it though, Jean? I mean, it's a lot of work and there's a big responsibility, but it's something that you get some satisfaction out of doing.
Oh, Rich, I learn so much.
Right.
And not only from the entries and the finalists, but I learn so much from my fellow industry experts, you know, listening to their feedback, watching how they say things, watching the individuals as they are, you know, presenting their business, their beliefs, their knowledge to us. You know, I find it really inspiring. And I also love the fact that I'm in a position that I can also share my knowledge and my motivation and, you know, the stuff that I do too, because there are, you know, the opportunities, you know, I really like to commend the finalists and the entries, and you know, I do my best to, you know, let them know that they are, you know, rock stars and that, you know, they are one of the top personal trainers or students or up and coming personal trainers within New Zealand. And then what I try and do is I try and add a little bit about the feedback that the industry expert has given them, you know, and it's like, and Rich Alice said, you know, you've got such awesome systems, and you know, so it's great. So thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you at the award ceremony. Actually, probably the thing that's probably the hardest, Rich, is the award ceremony.
Okay.
Yeah, and it sounds really funny, but you may have noticed, you might not have noticed, that I don't really speak to people before the award ceremony.
Okay.
So you'll quite often see me walk off by myself because I'm preparing to talk.
Yeah.
And I've been learning Te Reo, which is and so I speak in Te Reo and some Te Reo, and I get myself all worked up about it. So I've put my feet in the same shoes as our finalists.
Yes.
And so I have to go through a process myself that I prepare myself to stand up there. And my legs shake. I have perspiration running down my back. And I'm trying to do all the things that I'm saying entry should do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I am the facilitator of the New Zealand Exercise Indutry Awards. There are a lot of finalists walking around beforehand, and they all want to win.
Sure.
And I know that there are only a handful of winners in that room. And I don't want to let anybody know that they are a winner or that they haven't been successful this time around.
Sure.
And, you know, and so if the finalists come and speak to me, I'll say, hi, you know, good luck. I'll talk to you later. Or I don't even say that, I'll just say, lovely to see you. We'll catch up later. And I just leave them. So, and I may talk, generally it's with Di Lauder. You'll see me probably with Di Lauder, who's another one of our industry experts, and she helps me out a lot behind the scenes, and I will sort of hang with her a little bit and use her as a bit of distraction so that people will talk to her rather than talk to me. And then after the presentations, I will generally go up to the different individuals that are in the room that have been successful and not successful, and I will congratulate them all and thank them very much. And if they want some feedback, I give them feedback.
Sure.
Otherwise, and so that's quite challenging because they all know who I am.
Yeah.
And you know, there's only one person at the end of the day that's happy, Rich.
Yeah.
The winner.
Yeah.
And you know, everybody else is, it's fair to say, some of them get a little bit upset. And
of course.
And I understand that. And I'm very mindful of that. I feel for each and every one of them. So I take a little bit of that on board at the same time.
No, it's not easy to get that far and to miss at the last hurdle, but I think you have to prepare yourself for both outcomes mentally. And if people haven't been through that journey, it can be a little bit challenging. So it can be a great night or it could be a terrible night for some people, depending on how they've come into it. Challenging for you. It's really interesting hearing your side of the story because you know, people aren't necessarily aware of what's going on in your world when that's happening, and it makes total sense what you've just said in terms of how you handle the evening and sort of steal yourself away until the awards are done, because you know, you've got your own work to do on that night. It's not a completely sit back and relax evening for you either. So really interesting insights. So thank you for sharing.
That's all right.
Yeah. So top tips, Jean, you've got some years of experience that we could explore even more, but there's only so much time in the day, and I know you've got things to do, as I have too. But what would your tips be to either people coming in or people, you know, early on in their career, or just maybe people who have been doing it for a while but have kind of got to a point? I remember this myself a few years in, sort of getting to a point where I feel like I'd exhausted all my knowledge and I didn't really know where to go next. And that's when I found Dave Leo and you know, that mentoring and education that came with that. And then I went again. But what are the things that have sort of stood the test of time for you and or you've seen other people been successful because of? What would those tips look like?
Well, it's funny you should mention the word education, because I've got a post-it note in front of me.
Good.
Which I've put the PT graduate, and directly underneath I've gone education.
Really?
So the world evolves and changes all the time, as we're witnessing at the moment with TV3 news. Education is probably one of the most important things that we can do as industry leaders. You know, the people that are successful are the people that continue to educate themselves. You don't necessarily need to continue, you need to continue educating yourself within the realms of the health, wealth movement industry. But you can be educating yourselves in other ways as well. So like myself with my te reo, with painting, with the other things that I do in life to help keep me stimulated. It's all about stimulating the brain. But you know, I actually have to say, I've been doing a HMC upskill with the old this year, which I debated whether to do or not to do. But you know, I was weighing up the time. Do I have the time? Well, actually, you have to make the time. You know, you have to make the time to do it. Is it value for money? Of course it's value for money, because you're learning.
Yes.
You know, and if you look at how much it costs you for the year, you know, I have a payment that goes out of my bank account every week, and I think it's something like $32.50 or something.
Wow.
Goes out a week for 52 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, so it's
bad.
a no-brainer. How much do you charge for a personal training session? You know, anything from $50 through to some people have, I don't know, $100 plus dollars.
Yeah.
You know, it's a third of a training session.
Yeah.
You know, you can't beat it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, do you get the knowledge from those sessions? I can hand on heart say I've had takeaways from every single session that I have on Zoom.
Yeah.
You know, so
True.
it can be a little bit frustrating. It's got its downsides as well. But, you know, you weigh up, and I can finish a training session in my studio, come and do my training on Zoom. I can have something to eat, and I can go out for a run. That's what I normally do on a Thursday. So it's training, something to eat, Zoom, go out for a run.
Sorry, Jean, I've taken you away from your running.
Yeah, you have. So that's education. Seek knowledge from outside the industry. Because there's some amazing people out there doing amazing things.
Yes.
And people watch people and see how they interact with each other, and you know, how they talk to each other, how people do presentations, watch TV presenters, see what makes them so successful as a presentation person. Look to people like Jason Gunn. I mean, like, he's been around years and years and years, and you know, watching his facial expressions and how he talks with his body and stuff. We are people connectors. We work with people. People crave human connection. And I know a few years back and people still are doing it online on Zoom. They've got their little phone, and they look at their little pictures on the phone, and they go off to the gym, and they do their stuff. But, you know, at the end of the day, people still want human connection, you know, and it's not about number counting. You've got to have a wealth of knowledge in a whole lot of things, but be very mindful of your scope of practice. Know what your scope of practice is, and you know, avoid, and your scope of practice increases all the time.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, and especially with education and knowledge, it improves. But if it's not within your scope of practice, then seek help. Refer to other allied health professionals. You know, connect with other allied health professionals, and that way they respect you, you respect them. Your client is being looked after. Your client will then refer you. Will refer those other allied health professionals. You know, it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
So education, knowledge, refer.
Excellent. Love it. I've scribbled while you've been talking, so I've got those. I'll add those into the show notes at the bottom of the episode.
I think probably the other thing you do need to do, Rich, is you need to have some other outside interests. So you need to keep yourself stimulated. So I paint, I sew, I cook. I'm a creative.
Yes.
A creative, and I'm a feeder. I cook and I feed. So I make things and I give it away. But so you need that other stimulation as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you can get a little bit bogged down sometimes in the everything of the day-to-day and the work and the education. And it's good for your brain to have other things to focus on. Yeah, I like that. Lovely. Thank you. Good list.
You're welcome.
Where can people find you, Jean? If they're looking to reach out, what would be the best way to find you?
Email jean@jeanscott.training. Messenger, Facebook Messenger.
Oh yeah, Messenger. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and it's just Jean Scott, and you look for a lady with a pink hat with a pom-pom on it, big eyes.
Easy.
And there's a man standing beside her. It's my husband.
Okay, excellent. Fantastic. Well, I'll throw those bits into the notes as well, so people can look you up if they want to find you.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
more than happy to speak with people, to help people. Yeah, it's just a phone call, so
Brilliant.
just a little bit of time.
Very kind, very kind. Great stuff. Well, thank you again, Jean. It's been awesome talking to you and finding out a little bit more about you and the awards. And hopefully you've still got time to get out for that run.
Yeah, I've missed the window for the run. I've got a client at 4 o'clock for half an hour, but then I do go mountain biking with some.
Oh yes, Thursday. Yes.
Yeah, Thursday night mountain biking.
Good. So at least you'll get some movement in. Good.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Thanks, Jean.
Thank you, Rich. Have a wonderful day.
You too.